Okay, Suzanne, great job. You know what? My wife was telling me that you plan on being president one of these days. Okay, we're going to keep track of you, so you carry through on that.
You know, I tell you what, a lot of gray hairs out there. I don't know how it does for you, and it makes my heart feel good to know that the effort that we're putting out is going to be picked up by this next generation. That there are patriots out there who are very young and very enthusiastic, and they recognize that it is their future that is in jeopardy.
Suzanne, I know there's one thing there before they try to sneak off in the crowd. I understand your parents drove here all the way from Illinois.
Ho!
Well, come on up here a little bit where the crowd can see who you are. Congratulations, folks. Thank you for your dedication.
All right, well, we're preaching liberty here in Santa Fe today. Bob, we got another great speaker coming up here.
Yes, we do. Mr. Todd Hathorne is going to speak to us here, folks.
Mr. Hathorne comes to us as a former mortgage broker.
A member of the Truth to Vote group.
True the Vote.
True the Vote, I'm sorry.
Movement called True the Vote. I think he's very, very concerned about the vote. He's also has been a former candidate for a city council position in Rio Rancho, which he lost by 1 vote. So if you really think your vote doesn't count, give that one a thought. Talk to Todd, he'll argue with you. Todd?
I'll tell you what, that argument really played out this year in a lot of elections. And here's a gentleman that can live the truth there.
So how many of you think your vote doesn't count? Your vote counts. Every one of them. You know, how many of you have heard the quote from, I think it's from Jesse James, that said, he was asked, why do you rob banks? What did he say? That's where the money is. Because that's where the money is. Here's the odd thing though, it's not Jesse James that said that. How many of you think you know the answer to who actually said that? Sir?
Al Capone.
Al Capone, good guess.
Dillinger.
Willie Sutton is who it's attributed to, actually, believe it or not.
Obama.
It was a reporter. It was a reporter that said that. Here's what Willie Sutton actually said in his autobiography. The name of his autobiography was Where the Money Was. And what he had to say was, why did I rob banks? Because I enjoyed it. I loved it. I was more alive when I was inside a bank robbing it than any other time in my life. I enjoyed everything about it, so much so that 2 weeks later I was looking for the next job. But to me, the money was just the chips, that's all. That's what Willie Sutton said about a quote that was attributed to him. And you know, it's really interesting because when we think about bank robbers, what comes to my mind? Politicians. The establishment. How many of you have thought about your politicians as working for your interests? How many of you think politicians are working against you? They're spending your money. They're spending your money. How do they do that? How do we let them get away with that? You know, it's not the right or the left, it's the establishment. You know, it's the establishment that's doing this to us. And the first thing is I'm here to tell you I'm a member of the Republican Party. I've been on County Central since, I don't know, way back when. I've actually been to Santa Fe since 1985. I've been back and forth between different, State Central Committee member. And I got to tell you, the right's not right either. They didn't get the message. How many of you think that the politicians got the message of the last election? I don't think they got it. Do you know what this is? It's halftime. This is halftime. It's our obligation to gather, think about what we're doing, think about the strategy and the tactics of what the next election cycle is going to be about. And I'm going to tell you what it's going to be about. The R's are not right. The Republicans aren't right either. How many of you heard about Senate Bill 403? One person. Two people. Senate Bill 403 was something that was passed in the last legislative session, and believe it or not, it passed both houses unanimously. And let me tell you what it did. It actually gave an option to our county clerks to be able to remove precinct board oversight. The people that you send, that your parties, either the Republicans or the Democrats, send to oversee the elections, and they're putting that in the hands of the county clerks. How many of you think the county clerks are working in your best interest?
The union folks!
The union folks, is that right? They're not working in your best interest. They're working for efficiency. I had a wise man once tell me, believe it or not, a Democrat said, we can either be democratic or we can be efficient. Guess what they just chose? Efficiency. House Bill 40 or Senate Bill 403 puts your vote in the hands of 33 clerks. That is a move made by Susana Martinez and Diana Duran. Now, I don't want to beat them up too much. Let me be really clear. I think they're doing a good job. How many of you are happy that we have a balanced budget in New Mexico? Is that a good start? Is that a good start? It is. And we're going to give them credit for that, because they did something right. Came in, made sure they actually cut the budget by 2%. Wow, how long has that been? That's a good thing. Because we know, former mortgage broker, how many of you understand why I'm a former mortgage broker? Frank Dodd told me how much I could charge for my mortgages, where I could get those funds, and believe it or not, once I earned them, what I could do with the profit. Sound like communism to you?
Yep.
That came right out of the Obama administration. I'm not happy. We're in trouble because politicians are acting like bank robbers. They love it. They love the power. They love the addiction. It's like the federal funding is like crack cocaine to the people that are sitting in those offices. And they're addicted. You know what the response to that is? The Tea Party. It's you. It's every one of you, because it's your votes and your action and the things that you're going to do over this next cycle to explain you do it right the first time. Not 38 billion. Not 40 billion, not 100 billion. We're talking $14 trillion. That's a lot of zeros. And it's a serious, serious conversation. But we got to do it using some basic strategies and tactics. That's the second point of my speech today, is to talk to you about what specific things we have to do as a Tea Party. It's really important that we think about what we need to do. And the first thing, let's be clear, the Tea Party has three principles, right? What are those three principles? First one is stop the spending, stop the spending, stop the spending. Say it with me. Stop the spending, stop the spending, stop the spending, stop the spending. Stop the spending. Stop it. Let's be really clear. There are 45% of the people in America that are productive today. 55% is a bad average. Half the people, you know, the unemployment rate, how many of you are all tangled up in those numbers? Forget about it. Don't listen when they say unemployment's going down, because what they're doing is moving the goalposts. Every time we talk about it, we must have more people productive in society. Reduce the spending. Second is what? Limited government. Why is that?
Because we have to pay for it.
We got to pay for it. It's our money.
Bureaucracy is going to meet the needs of the ever-growing bureaucracy.
And the bureaucracy continues. And who dominates the bureaucracy? It's the liberals. It's the left. It's not just those people elected. It's the people who run it. The last thing is free markets. Let's be really clear about what a free market is. I'm a Republican, not a Libertarian, because I believe in a well-regulated marketplace. It has to be fair, right? Level the playing field. You heard earlier about those things that can happen when you don't pay attention. What happens to us over time? The real conversation for me is a free marketplace is a level playing field, and we don't have one because the government is picking the winners. How many of you can say film industry? Film industry. They're getting subsidies because their industry doesn't work. It's not working as a free market economy. Now, is free market perfect? No. We know there's problems. There are those who take advantage, and there's a requirement to regulate, but regulate correctly. Don't pick the winners. Level the playing field. Give me an equal opportunity to compete. So what do we do about this? These three pillars are very important to the Tea Party, but what do we do about it? You know, if you look in the toolbox, and the only thing you have in the toolbox is a hammer, everything begins to look like a nail. How many of you heard that before? Lots of euphemisms for me today, but the issue for me is really pretty straightforward. The tools that we need to consider are, number one, is voting. How many of you vote? Yeah. There you go. If you didn't raise your hand,
3 or 4 times.
You ought to be ashamed. If you did not vote, you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. I don't care, left, right, purple, green onions, I don't care, whatever your affiliation is, you got to vote. Get out and do it. Make your voice heard. It's your government. You saw the guys up here willing to shed their blood and give their life. They signed up and they were willing to do those things that are necessary for you to be able to do that. I'm tired of hearing about the vote being convenient. New Mexico has a problem. We learned this in Houston when we went to a Tea Party rally there. Actually, it was a Tea Party event put on by the King Street Patriots called True the Vote, and I'm here to tell you about True the Vote today. True the Vote is about getting those placeholders out of our election and out of our politics. Diana Duran's in a tight spot. She was actually told shortly after she got into office, she started digging through the drawers. She find anything good?
No.
Mary Herrera leave her with anything worthwhile?
Nope.
Stack of bills.
Yep.
Big stack of bills, whole bunch of money gone. And by the way, she didn't do her job while she was in there. She said she was supposed to start a process in 2007 to eliminate voters. Those voters on the rolls that are supposed to be removed. People who die, people who move, people who are convicted of felonies. Those kinds of folks who are not supposed to be voting, and what we call that is a qualified elector. It's a bad thing. But really, what she left was a set of placeholders so that when you walk in to vote, and somebody else from the old Acorn, now called Organizing for America, shows up, they've already voted. And you're left standing there wondering what's going on. Your vote will go on what's called a provisional ballot, and believe it or not, it's the guys at the precinct who say whether your vote gets counted. It's truth. And now, our current governor has said 1/3 to 60% could end up in a situation where there's no one from each side of the party lines to make the decision. It's just some bureaucrat. Not a good plan. It's not a good plan. It's damaging. It's bad for us. So, the tools in the toolbox. We want to talk about lies. How many of you have heard this, read the book, Lies, Damn Lies, and Statistics? Get the book. Go get the book. It's an old book, 1954. There was a publishing of it, and there's a recent republishing of it in 2007. Why am I telling you to look at the statistics? Because we have to know what happens. If you have 60,000 voters out there who are placeholders, we have to do what? What are we going to do with those people who aren't really people? What do we do with them? Kick them out. Get rid of them. Now, Secretary Duran's been told by the Department of Justice, you will not remove those voters from the list. Now, why would the Department of Justice say that? They're bureaucrats. Remember the guys we were talking about before? The bank robbers? They're the ones holding the pistol. They're the wheelman for the politicians.